Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for coming to learn more about the FAS International Agricultural Fellowship Program. This is the second year of this program, formerly known as the FAS Diversity Fellowship Program. Today, we're going to have a discussion with our inaugural cohort and the members of our FAS family. But first, before we get started, I just want to explain a little bit more about the program, because you're definitely here to learn about it. So the FAS program, it prepares individuals for careers that link U.S. agriculture to the world to enhance export opportunities and global food security. This program is funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, but it is administered here at Howard University. So part of the package, you get up to $42,000 annually for a 2-year graduate program, and that goes towards tuition, room, board, books, and other fees for the completion of a degree in either agribusiness or agricultural economics. There is an orientation for the program, and that orientation will happen next early summer, so late spring, early summer. After the orientation, there will be a 10-week domestic internship that will happen at USDA. After that, you will begin your graduate studies. The following summer in 2025, there will be another 10-week internship at a U.S. embassy or consulate. And then you also receive mentorship from a FAS Foreign Service officer, someone who is working in this field, someone who can help you and guide you and answer any questions that you may have. Once you complete all obligations of the program, this program does require a 5-year service commitment. Eligibility for the program, you must be a U.S. citizen. And I always remind people that you have to be a U.S. citizen because this leads to federal employment, meaning that if you need any type of clearance, you have to be a U.S. citizen to attain that clearance. You have to have a cumulative GPA of 3.2 or higher. And you have to be seeking enrollment in a 2-year master's program to begin in the fall of 2024 in either agribusiness or agricultural economics. Our application closes on the 12th. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming. So we have our wonderful fellows, our first cohort here. Hi, everyone. I haven't seen you since you left this summer. So I'm gonna go around and I would like you guys to introduce yourself. So Kelly, you're at the top of my screen, so I'm just going in a circle. So Kelly, I wanna start with you. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hello, the two of you. My name is Kelly Hudson. I just recently began my master's program at Michigan State, so I'm up here in East Lansing right now. Beforehand, I got my bachelor's degree at Texas State University, San Marcos, Texas, in agriculture with a concentration in agricultural mechanics. So it's, not econ based at all, but yeah, I guess that's it, right? You want me to show anything else or?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah. Karina, like I said, I'm just gonna go at the top of the screen.
Hey everyone, my name is Karina Gaz. I am studying agricultural economics at Virginia Tech. I'm originally from Denver, Colorado, but I studied international business at Cal Poly in California. And between that time, I've done a handful of different jobs, but maybe most relevant to the fellowship is my work as a farm manager.
Thank you, Karina. Courtney?
Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Blaylock. I graduated from North Carolina A&T State University in agribusiness, and now I'm in Tennessee at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, majoring in agricultural economics.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. And Laura?
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Jimenez from Austin, Texas. Right now I'm at Texas A&M doing agriculture economics. My undergrad was in animal science at Texas Tech University. And I see Joseph on this call, so it's good to see you, Joseph.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. So the first question I would like to ask all of you, and I want all of you to answer this, how did you come across this program? Because this program is new. Like I said, this is the second year of this program. So how were you introduced to, well, when you were introduced to it, it was the FAS Diversity Fellowship. How were you introduced to the program? Any order.
I can start again. For me, it was extremely serendipitous. I was taking a agricultural economics class in undergrad just because I thought it was fun. I was doing well in the class, and my professor at the time approached me after class and was like, "Hey, I just came across an application for a really interesting program. I think you'd be interested in." And he sent me the application, and the rest is history. Yeah, it just kind of happened.
Awesome. That's awesome that these advisors, they just look out for students. So build relationships with your advisors. That's what I got from that. Okay, I guess if we're gonna go in the same order, thank you, Kelly. Karina.
Sure. I was working at Central Washington University, so I was the farm manager there. And I think just being in the network of farm communication, was working with area farms, and so a lot of emails were coming through and heard about the opportunity. I had heard prior about foreign service work, but it was foreign service work through the State Department, and I didn't know you could be a foreign service officer and keep yourself in the context of ag, and so that was pretty. Finding out about that really solidified my application.
Awesome. Thank you. Courtney.
So I had previously worked at the FAS, and there I met a foreign service trainee in rotation. And so he was able to speak to me more about working in the foreign service and what he was expecting and what I could expect, and learning about all that they do. I was like, oh, I really like this opportunity. And then at my undergrad, Howard University actually came down. So Patricia Scroggs, she came down and she offered all the scholarships that Howard had, and one of them was this fellowship. And so able to speak to her one-on-one really helped me to apply.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Patricia is awesome. She has created so many diplomats. She has contributed so much to diplomacy in the United States. So even though Patricia's not here, we thank her in spirit. Laura.
So I found out about the fellowship while I was working at the National Association for States Departments of Agriculture, a cooperator that works with FAS. So I had known about FAS just through them. I kind of had an understanding of what they were doing. My experience was in trade shows and trade promotion. So my boss was given a flyer from FAS, the creator of it, which was Valerie Brown, got the flyer. He's like, hey, you should look into this. It looks like you're a good fit, but also can you promote it for other people? So I had to do it on our social media, and then I also applied for it.
Awesome. That's awesome. And you know what I love to hear, what makes this group unique is that you've heard something about the Foreign Service, as you've gone through your journey in coming to this program. And a lot of times people don't hear anything about the Foreign Service, whether it is with the Department of State or USAID or, this new USDA program. So how have you explained what you're going to be doing to your family and friends? We can go back in order if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah. It was definitely difficult at first to explain the job, but I feel like now that we've gotten an opportunity to just see the breadth of what USDA and FAS does, it's a lot easier now. So now the big one is our main goal is to promote U.S. trade abroad, and also help to implement development projects with potential and current trade partners. In a nutshell, that is the goal of FAS, but within that, there's 1,200 people doing a vast variety of jobs. Like each one of us was in a different program area and had completely different jobs that you would be like, how are you guys part of the same agency? So it's really diverse, but I can let somebody else talk if they want.
Excellent. Karina?
Sure. Yeah, like Kelly said, since completing that initial internship, we definitely learned a lot. And we'll continue to learn more about what FAS does. But if, my family asks what the fellowship is or what I'll be doing, yeah, it's really just representing farmers and ranchers abroad, supporting their products, what they're doing internationally, and really building those market opportunities for them. So there's that like economic piece, but there's, relationship building is going to be huge in our work, and really just representing the U.S. In the agriculture space is what I more or less say to the family members.
Awesome. Okay, Courtney, your turn.
Yeah, so for easier understanding of the foreign service, I usually just say that, we're diplomats with the focus in agriculture. And then I always say that we are on the forefront of agricultural news, anything that comes out. So this summer, I had the pleasure of working with the data and analysis team, and we worked a lot on forecasting. And I had to read like in depth the news because ag is always changing and something is always happening. And so understanding how that if something happens on this side of the world, it can still greatly affect agriculture over here in this region. So just understanding that we're looking at ag and seeing how it affects the countries and how it can all go back to helping, U.S. producers and farmers.
Awesome. And Laura?
What I usually say to my family is we're helping provide trade and trade opportunities for farmers and ranchers, helping promote international trade, getting up to date on all the agriculture analysis and opportunities for marketing U.S. products. So that would be a big thing of what I would say to my family.
I love the pitch. You guys actually have like these great elevator pitches for the USDA and what they actually do in the FAS Foreign Service. So that's awesome.
We've had to answer that question a lot over the last, year or so.
Okay, that's awesome. So you came into the program this earlier, in May, and you did your orientation. So this is open to anyone. Can someone explain what your orientation process was? Do we need to go back in a circle? Okay.
It was, so you're talking about once we got to DC.
You got to DC. Can you explain the process of what happened and what you guys did?
We met with Patricia on Howard's campus. We got to actually meet each other in person. And then we had some initial professional development exercises. So I know we did like a short writing exercise. We had somebody come in and do kind of a seminar on briefings and how to basically just getting some public speaking skills. We met with, who else did we meet? We met with a bunch of different people. We talked to so many different people. It was really just Patricia trying to show us what it means to be a foreign service officer. So we got a lot of exposure to kind of the daily life of a foreign service officer, what the job entails, what it means to be a diplomat, and things like that. And then the second day of orientation, that was more specific in that we went to the USDA headquarters. We met with the heads of every single program area in FAS, I guess, and they gave us spiels on what they do in that specific program area. We had opportunities to ask a lot of questions. And then at the end of the day, we got to meet our bosses for the summer, and have some conversations and talk about what our expectations were for the internship, things that we wanted to get out of it. They also obviously pitched what their expectations of us were, the goals of their specific program, and how they saw us fitting into that specific area.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. So you did orientation, and then the next week you started your internships, correct? While also balancing professional development. So can someone tell me, please first explain your internships, like explain a little bit about what you actually did, what you learned, what you didn't learn, what you wish you would have learned. Can you explain to the people here what you actually did this summer during your internships.
All right, I'll start. So I was in the Agricultural Economic Development Division. That's in the program area they call global programs. So anything that has to do with programs goes into global programs. And within AED, it's what I'll call it for short. It's exactly what it sounds like. Our entire job is developing and implementing economic development programs in different countries. So with that, you're working with people at posts at different embassies in different countries. You're working with foreign service officers. You're working with universities. You're working with cooperators. You're working with just companies in these different countries. So if I can get specific, I worked on a project, well, partially on a project where we were building cold storage facilities in Kenya. And so with that, we were working with a refrigerator company in India. We were working with a couple of US universities. We were working with our FAS team in Nairobi, and we were working with the local farmers and like farmer cooperatives over in Kenya. So this was specifically for orange flesh sweet potatoes. Yeah, so I got to do a lot of that. I also got to work on gathering data for different grains in Ukraine, which I thought was very interesting. We were kind of on the forefront of doing something extremely impactful. And I got to actually give my feedback to people who were working with the Minister of Agriculture in Kyiv, which was an amazing experience that I'll never forget. So yeah, so that was it's all, so that's my job, but then you'll hear from everybody else and it's all completely different stuff. But that was AED in a nutshell.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Karina, we'll go back in our circle then.
Of course. Yeah, I think what's fun about this question is you'll get to kind of see how diverse the work of FAS is. So I was part of the trade policy program area. And so I was in multilateral affairs. So basically that means working with other nations. And I got the opportunity to be a part of kind of 3 different projects. So the Food and Agriculture Organization held their conference, kind of a big event over the summer. The United Nations held the Food System Summit. And then US played host or was host to APEC in Seattle. And so all of these opportunities allowed me to get hands-on experience in briefing work. So what that is we often will send delegates, important people, you can think of them as important people from the US overseas to these conferences. And so in order to prepare them, we will brief them. We will brief them on important topics, get them up to speed, essentially, to be the best representative of the United States at these conferences. And so I got to put together all we call them briefing books. So these big books in which you go through the laundry list of everything they need to know to attend this event. And be it, what are the travel plans, where will they stay, who they will meet with. And in all of this process, I got to be a part of meetings, mostly with our post in Rome. So they handle a lot of our multilateral agreements. And so you're coordinating, you're working through who are they going to meet with? Are they going to meet with the the Minister of Agriculture from Kenya? If they meet with them, what should they be discussing? Should we bring up school meals, our school meals programs? Should we bring up conversations from last year's summit? What gift should we give them? So you're kind of thinking and part of all of that process. And so I got the opportunity to actually go to Seattle and kind of see what happens when we send, Secretary Vilsack to one of these meetings. What happens when we send our Undersecretary Alexis Taylor? I think the highlight of my summer was when Alexis Taylor spoke the words I wrote, or I wrote out, she spoke them verbatim, and it was just like, wow, you can do real work and, have an impact. And, that these conversations lead to agreements, which lead to policy, which in turn lead to how our farmers and ranchers interact with others across the world. So it's very a hands-on internship. It was very, very cool.
Thank you so much for sharing. I love the passion that you all have for the work, and that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Courtney.
So this summer I worked with the Global Commodity Analysis Division. So when we talk about agriculture, it was very specific to commodities and commodity teams. So there's wheat, there can be rice, but I worked on the oil seeds, which was a much bigger division than I thought. So it was a lot, but I worked specifically with soybeans, and I really enjoyed it, and I really learned a lot. So my division works on the WASDE, which is the World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates. So monthly, they go into what they call lockup, where they go into this lockup room, everything is shut down, there's no connection to the internet at all. They have to put in all their supply and demand forecasting that they've decided for, they've calculated for the month, and then it's all released at the same time so that is fair for everyone. And so, as I said, we're at the forefront of agricultural news. So every single news article that came out about ag had to be looked at to understand, would this change the possible supply and demand? How would this affect countries with their supply and demand for certain commodities, specifically soybeans? So I was able to work on an international agricultural trade report, which in essence is just a snapshot of a country or a region about certain commodities. And so I worked on Egypt soybeans, which was really interesting, as they sliced their currency, they devalued their own currency in order to open some ports and to be able to get their soybeans to feed their livestock. So I had to look more into the country. I had to do kind of a deep dive analysis onto why they made the decisions that they made and how they're able to get US soybeans, why they have preference for US soybeans. So looking at the soybean content itself, so looking at its protein content, comparing its content to other types of oilseeds. So for data analysis, I would say it's very specific to specific countries and commodities, but it was really interesting. It was a great opportunity to see the forecasting and what is focused on, and how, as I said, something that happened over here that you would think would have nothing to do with your country affected the country greatly. And now they're making, different decisions when it comes to soybeans. I was also able to speak with Post in Vietnam about peanuts. So one of the big decisions we're in Washington, but there are people at different posts, worldwide, and just the connection and making sure that the data that we're releasing or putting together is the same, identical, to make sure that we're on the same page, that there's a clear connection between Washington and Post. So being able to speak to Post and learning more about the time differences, so not getting a response for 2 days, but that's okay. But just learning that there's time differences and just making sure that we're all on the same page. So it was a great opportunity this summer.
I learned something just now. That's so informative. Thank you for sharing, Courtney. And Laura, what about your internship?
So my internship was in the Trade Mission and Trade Shows office. In fact, it was the first time they ever had an intern, so it was kind of like the guinea pig in that area. Their main two responsibilities are trade missions, which is when they bring U.S. companies to another country to promote U.S. products, and then trade shows, where they basically have like a giant pavilion of different booths that are set up with different companies promoting their products to international buyers, to potential importers. So that was the main focus on trade mission and trade shows. My responsibilities kind of varied. I got to do promotional content and just an informative video on what exactly a trade mission is. So if you look it up, USDA trade missions, you'll see my video. So that's pretty cool. I got to redesign their whole newsletter. It was outdated and they didn't really keep up with it that much. So I got to reinvent that and was in control. I got to vet companies. There's a vetting process on what kind of companies can go on these trade missions. So I got to do basically like deep dive, see anything that's inappropriate, or were they arrested? Did they have any sketchy backgrounds? So that was interesting, kind of like stalking them as you. I also did a little bit of the database analysis. The Undersecretary Alexis Taylor wanted more information on what kind of companies were going on these trade missions. So we had to get information on whether they're women-owned, was it a veteran-owned, what kind of region are they, all these companies coming from to participate in this trade mission. So just to analyze what are some, like where should we put our efforts into, what kind of companies in what areas, like what needs more support. So we found out actually Native American companies, that was like a big thing that we were pushing for. So another thing that was different is I got to work for 2 weeks at the office of Alexis Taylor. So it was the Undersecretary Alexis Taylor and the Deputy Secretary. So I was kind of their administrative person during that time, but I got to sit in a lot of their meetings, which was really interesting. So all the current events of everything going on with Europe and all the very important people all in one room, coordinating, okay, Brazil's doing this. Oh, Brazil never follows the rules. Oh, China's doing this. We need to do this. So it was really interesting to see like the strategizing aspect of it and how we're really leaders in the whole agriculture realm. Like people follow us, like countries follow our lead. So that was cool to see. Also issues that you wouldn't even think about were really interesting. So I got to develop relationships with both the undersecretary and the deputy secretary. So that was very interesting to see. And then right now I have to look forward to, I'm kind of still in my internship with Trade Mission and Trade Shows. We have a Chile Santiago mission coming up. So I'll be attending that and I will be a participant helping out with their promotional content for they have these big marketing, they're basically promoting US products through this marketing effort called Sabor USA. So I'll be helping out with that marketing promotion and just doing testimonies, interviews, and whatever else they need me. So, but that was my whole internship.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Like you guys have really done really different things. The four of you, you're going through the same program, you're walking the same path, but you just it's so different and it shows the diversity of what the USDA actually does and what we need as a country. So I have a question, a big overall question. Laura, I know you have to leave, so I'm going to start with you. I'm going to start with you. So what do you feel was one of the most important things that you may have learned this summer that you're going to take with you into your career with FAS? That's a big question, I know.
I would say one of the most important things that I learned that I should take with me is how important it is to get a taste of every department in FAS and really build those connections. So during my internship, what I would do, I would email department leads just so, like, if I didn't have that much experience in development, I would reach out to somebody who has done development and what are the current projects that they're working on. If it was something like plant, I didn't know anything about plant policy, I would reach out to them and see, okay, I know nothing about plants, please teach me, what's going on, just so I can have a better understanding on all the different projects that FAS is doing. So I would say that was my biggest takeaway, just always trying to communicate to different departments and realizing how much each department intersects with each other, because they all are dependent of one another. So I would say that was my biggest thing that I had to my biggest takeaway.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I know you said you had to leave. So if you have, thank you so much for coming and just giving a little bit of your time to talk with future FAS fellows potential. So thank you so much, Laura, and best of luck. I'll be in touch.
Certainly. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions about my experience, feel free to reach out. I know Candace is probably going to share our contact information, but thank you so much.
If you want, if you want, I won't just
Yeah.
openly share it if you want.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Bye, Laura. So Courtney, same question for you. What is the most important thing that you learned over the course of your internship that you feel will be most effective in your future career with FAS?
I would say I definitely learned how to communicate effectively, and that's what I'm going to have to take with me, and like how to ask the correct questions. So a lot of times we talk about, the foreign service, but then you want a more inside look. So we had over the summer, it was the foreign service, the Global Attaché Conference, where foreign service officers and foreign service trainees all came together, and, being a little bit nervous. And after COVID-19, everyone was back in the building. I was a little nervous, but I knew that I had to open up and ask them questions, and they were more than ready to like give me their answers and tell me their experiences, because they just had such different experiences. They had all been to different countries. They have been, maybe that was their first post or their second or their third post. And so being able to learn more about how to work in the embassy, considering we're about to work in the embassy next summer. So I would definitely take that with me. Another thing, while working in the global commodity analysis, there was a lot I didn't know. And so I didn't want to just sit in silence. So being able to speak up and being able to understand what was actually going on. I know in my division, they said people start to understand things 6 months in, but I only had around 2.5. But making sure to ask questions, ask people to, step aside and please help me. And they were more than willing. So communicating effectively, that's what I'm going to do next year. That's what I'm going to do forever on. That's probably the best thing that I definitely learned this summer.
Thank you. That's awesome advice just for life in general, not just within the foreign service, but in any path that you decide to take, is to remember to speak clearly and say when you need help, because you have to remember that, a job like this is a service and we're all leading towards one mission. So yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Karina, what was yours?
Yeah, I guess I have two, and it's mostly just to reiterate like the remaining curious, being curious. I think, asking questions and being curious, it seemed to lead to just different learnings, which was awesome. But I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways from the internship is just like leaning on your people. I think the four of us grew really close, and we had weeks where we were busy. You're getting the opportunity to work in DC and learn this new space, and you're also going to professional development opportunities, and you're learning and networking, and we got the opportunity to learn amongst other future diplomats. And I think people are, building your people and finding your people. I think that's going to be important in the future. And I think our cohort meant the world to me. And I think I've got, you all alongside me on this journey well into this future. So yeah.
That's also a good one. That's a really good one, because people have to remember when you're in the foreign service, and it's almost like you guys are pledging a fraternity or sorority, and you're together, but you're going through this path, and you'll be traveling together. Sometimes not, but sometimes yes. And that you become very close, sometimes closer than friends and family, because you have such shared experiences with your work. And so that's a very, very good one. Thank you so much for sharing that, Karina. Okay, Kelly.
Yeah, so for me, I guess it's just a few things. The first one would be the importance of networking. We had a lot of networking events. But it's not just networking with people outside of FAS, but also, within your program across FAS, and understanding how to learn from everybody around you. That's kind of a common theme, is like, we didn't know a lot, or there's a whole lot of different things that we're involved in. So the more you can get to know people and get to learn from people, the broader understanding you have of what we're doing at FAS, and it just makes you more knowledgeable and comfortable doing your job. So I'd say like networking, being able to just kind of go out and make new friends or professional acquaintances at least. Second thing would be the professional development exercises that we did. I feel like I'm a much better public speaker, and I know how to at least listen to myself when I'm speaking and make myself speak more concisely, clearer, not stumbling over myself as much, which is good. And also just learning what it means to be a diplomat. We had opportunities to talk to Ambassador, it was Teddy. What was Teddy's last name? I can't remember, but he was really cool.
Teddy Taylor.
Yeah, yeah, Ambassador Taylor was amazing, and he really did a good job of explaining kind of what to expect as a career foreign service officer. So really having that vision of what a career spending 20, 25, 30 years in foreign service looks like, to understand if it is something that I want. And then the last thing is confidence, kind of going back to what Courtney said. Like, we went to the Global Attaché Conference and you're around all of these people and it's like, well, what do I do? How do I talk to these people? But just having that confidence to first off, put myself out there, ask the right questions, be humble and learn from people, but also have the confidence to, when I'm working, admit when there's something I don't know or admit when I need help. That's very, very important because the people around you are always willing to help and teach you and kind of take you under their wings, especially as an intern. They really love interns over there because you make their life a lot easier. So the better you are at your job, the easier their job becomes, but also like there's an element of imposter syndrome that sets in when you first get there and you see these people that are doing very important jobs and there's political appointees and you can see the Washington Monument across the street and it becomes very heavy very quickly. But you gain the confidence and you understand that you do belong there, and I think that that's something that I carry that confidence with me now. So like there's people that are scared of grad school. I'm like, whatever, man, like we're going to get this over with. Like I'm going to do my best. I'm going to give it my all. And like, I'm just going to keep pushing forward, so those are probably the three biggest things that I took. And I feel like a much better person from my experience.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. All of those were so authentic. I really appreciate what you guys shared. I see you, Joseph. Yes, I too am applauding our fellows. Thank you so much. So my last question to all of you, if there was any advice that you would give potential applicants, potential future FAS fellows, what would you give them? Any order.
I can start because I have we'll call it an unorthodox path to FAS. I worked as a chef for 8 years, restaurant chef, open restaurants, did a whole lot of different things before I came back, finished my undergrad, and then ultimately got this job. And so the thing that I would say is kind of reflect back on any work experience or volunteer experience or just life experience in general that you have. Review all the literature that you get sent and like understand the qualities that FAS is looking for and find ways to take those past experiences and apply them to what you're going to be doing at FAS. There's a lot of parallels and a lot of different things that you can draw from experiences that you might not think have anything to do with being a diplomat or just working for the federal government, when in fact, those interesting interactions that you had with people, those times that maybe you had to kind of stand up for yourself, like all of those things, like pushing through adversity is a huge one, right? And so like all of those life experiences that you have, like find ways to connect them to the skill set that they are asking for, because you might not think you have the skills, but it's just that you've used them in a different setting, a different context. So really try and find those parallels in the skills that you gathered throughout your life, because anybody's capable of doing this job. That's what I've learned. You just have to have the right drive.
Well put. Thank you.
And then to piggyback off what Kelly said, definitely with the imposter syndrome and feeling confident, be confident in what you have done. You did it. It's not a question. Don't hesitate to put it down. Put down what you've done. you work through it. You're not applying, you're applying because you know that you want to get into this, you're looking into it. Have the confidence to put down what you've done. Don't hesitate. Again, look at the qualities that they're looking for. You already possess those qualities. So just make sure that you are able to showcase that on the application. To feel as confident as you need to feel and put what you've done down.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for saying that as we're going through the application process with all of diplomatic fellowships. You have applicants who are questioning, what should I put down? And I always tell them, bring your authentic self, bring yourself to the table. Don't write down what you think we want to hear. You put who you are on that application, because we all have something inside of us that we uniquely can contribute to this work. So thank you for saying that, Courtney. Karina?
Yeah, I think mine's just a tangible thing. If you're able, connect with a foreign service officer, connect with FAS folks before, if you're able, because they're the ones doing the job, and this is an opportunity for you to also learn, what it is that they do. I think that just really, like, I was able to connect with somebody and they really helped me understand what is it that I'm applying for. And from there, I could really learn, how can I apply myself to this, application in this role, and why do I want it? And why do, it really helped me answer that why, because I learned, what is it exactly? It's different, right? But if you get that opportunity, I also think you'll see just how cool the people are. So yeah, if you're able to reach out to them in advance.
Thank you so much, Karina. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Laura, who has left. But thank you so much for taking the time to just share your experiences with our potential FAS fellows, with applicants, and just explaining the program. I really appreciate it. I want to take the time right now to open it up to questions. Does anyone have any questions or comments that they would like to ask our fellows?
Do you want us to put it in the chat or just ask you?
No, you can just ask it. You can ask it,
Okay.
yeah.
Alrighty. What is it like moving from all across the country to move to Washington, D.C. permanently as someone who's doing grad school or is working for the FAS?
I can take a swing at it at least. For me, I've kind of moved around a lot growing up, so I was used to going to different places. I moved from West Virginia to Texas on a whim, so coming back from Texas to the East Coast, for me, it was nice to get back out east. DC is a very unique place, but it's not necessarily as intimidating as you might see in pop culture and movies and stuff. It's very much an international city, and there's people from everywhere, all across the country and all across the globe. So you get to meet a lot of interesting people. Finding housing was a little rough, I will admit. I got really lucky with where I lived. I would say that was probably one of the most stressful things, was finding a place to stay when I got there. But once you get there, it's you have so much access to public transit. It's amazing how the access you have, and just the opportunities and the options. There's always something to do or to get into. We got to be pretty close. We went to a concert. We did some stuff outside of work. We went and got beers and things like that. It's a really fun city. It's a cool city. If it's your first time going far away from home, there's always going to be those growing pains. And I would just say, make sure to just call your family and tell them about your experience, because they're going to be extremely excited that you're there anyway, so you can still bond that way and feel close to home if you're homesick. But it's not a big adjustment. It's just, we were joking about this actually, there's these little parts of the culture, like you have to stand on the right side of the escalator when you're going down to the metro if you're standing, not walking, because there's people that are in a hurry, you know, running past you. So there's like these little tiny things that you learn, and by the time you've been there for 10 weeks, you start to feel like a local, and it's a really cool, interesting experience, man. Like I don't see how anybody could hate it. Honestly, there's just a lot to offer. Yeah.
Hey, those are good skills to remember when you go overseas. You're going to need those. You're going to need those. You do that overseas too. Are there any other questions?
Thank you, by the way, for the previous answer. For your second internship, where you're posted to an embassy overseas, how much control do you have over where exactly you get posted? And is it based on what languages you already know?
We
No
have not
control.
been assigned to a
Yeah.
post yet.
Okay.
Before we left, so I feel like I'm taking up everybody else's time. You guys can talk too, but throughout our time in DC, we got to talk to different people and give our preferences. And then at the very end, right before we left, Morgan Haas, who is the FAS side of managing our program, he asked each of us not necessarily where we wanted to go, but what we wanted to get out of our experience abroad, which I think is very important. And, you know, if you get into the program, you'll learn that each post has a different goal and a different mission. Some are policy, some are promotion, some are both, you know. And so we got to express our interests in different aspects of career, you know, professional development that we were interested in. But we don't know where we're going yet.
Yes, it won't be, you can't just go and look down the list and say, I want to go here. It doesn't quite work like that. But you go where you're needed, and you go to a place where you can best serve, and you will learn. And I think that's the best way to answer that question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Yes, Kelly, do you have a question?
Candace, do you know where we're gonna
No.
go?
No, I don't know where you're going to go, and I don't. That conversation hasn't. No one's having that conversation yet, or at least not with us. So no, we don't know where you're going to go. I hope it's a place good. Okay, I'm gonna go back to. Let me pull this up, and I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen. For all participants who actually came in today, I thank you so much for taking the time to just come and learn about the program. So let's go back. Let's go back to my PowerPoint right here, where I'm going to tell you. Like I said before, I just want to finish this last slide. If accepted into this fellowship, there are a few obligations. One of the obligations is to obtain and maintain a security clearance and a medical clearance, because you will need that to work. If this is something you can't attain at the beginning of this fellowship, you cannot continue through the process, because you will need this for a career in FAS. You also have to maintain your grades. So you maintain a 3.2 cumulative GPA. You have to meet the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Foreign Service entry requirements. And remember that it's a 5-year service obligation. So that means you do the 2 years in graduate school, your internships, the obligations, and then once you've completed all of that, then it's 5 years in the Foreign Service. My name is Candace Roberts, as I've stated before. If you have any questions at all, here's my information. Please feel free to email me. I will answer you. The application closes October 12th. You have plenty of time. The website is fastfellowship.org. You can go directly to the application at apply.fastfellowship.org if you're already confident and you know that this is the path for you. Just to let you know that the application is currently open for all of our diplomatic fellowships here at Howard University. The Wrangell program and the Pickering program are with the Department of State. Pickering's application closes tomorrow. So if you're fast, you can still get it in. The Rango application, it closes on the 28th. The foundation of these programs are essentially the same. The only difference is with the Rango program, your first internship is on the Hill. And with the Pickering program, your first internship is at the Department of State at Maine State. The Payne program, if you're into development with USAID, their application doesn't close until October 26th. So you have plenty of time to get that application in, and the information's right there. And our fellowship, the FAS International Agricultural Fellowship Program, it closes on the 12th. So like I said, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me, Candace.Roberts, Candace with an I, at howard.edu. I thank everybody for coming out today. I thank you so much for your conversation and just your authentic insight on what the Foreign Service is and everything that you've learned. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have a good evening. Bye. Thank you.